So I saw that you went to a rave.
Yeah. I just went to a fucking. There was a week where I went to like 2 different raves. I've actually been to more clubs like last month than I had been in my entire life. And what throws me off is how people dance in clubs. Because I always assumed it was some like Blade type, like everyone's getting real crazy, throwing their arms everywhere, like getting all sexy. Yeah. But every club I've been to that wasn't like a hard rave has just been like everyone's kind of got a drink in hand. They're like swaying from left to right. They're kind of like moving their shoulders a little bit.
Yeah.
It's and I was trying to hard step. I was trying to like get in there and like sweat some shit off.
Like, come on, pussies.
It's like, come on, get in the fucking pit.
You're picking up dimes and shit or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Fucking. Yeah, the crowd killing.
But yeah, I guess clubs are like more chill.
It's just too chill, man. It's not for me. If I'm going out to dance, I'm going out to dance.
You're like, I want to lose weight after this. I'm trying to lose.
I'm trying to
weight.
like not move tomorrow.
Yeah, and raves are more intense.
Yes.
Okay. Are you getting your Blade energy at a rave?
I am. It was the best workout I'd gotten in probably months.
Nice.
Was that we went to a rave, and just immediately, like, no one's on the dance floor. I'm like, I don't need to be out at places for a long time.
Yeah.
You know? I don't feel the need to be out at a rave for like 6 hours.
Is that what you're telling people there? You're like, hey, I don't need to be here. Okay? Can you all step it the fuck up?
So, a little appreciation, a little respect,
yeah.
Please.
Can everyone surround me?
So I was just like, the first DJ was going on, and we were there for about like 15 or 20 minutes, and I was like, fuck it, like, even if no one else is dancing, I'm just going to start dancing because I want to dance.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I start dancing, like no one else is really joining. After a bit, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, more people flood in. There's a little bit more of a crowd, but there's still enough space to dance. That's like the ideal situation. I was dancing for like 2 hours.
Shit.
And I was there for about 3. And so I got my steps in. And I like there was still like 3 hours left in the rave, and I was like, nah, I'm going home. I'll see y'all later. I'm good.
Yeah.
I did what I needed to do.
Dude, yeah, that's how I always was going out. Like, I don't go out very much anymore, like to bars, and especially not clubs.
Sure.
But that's how I always was too, man. Like, I'd get to a bar at like 10 o'clock at night. By midnight, I'm like ready to go home. Just like, okay, I've had my 4 or 5 drinks. Like, the moment I start feeling good, like toasty, I'm like, now I want to go home. Like, now it's more fun to me to like chill on my couch, smoke some weed, hang out with friends, and like watch a movie or something. Versus like, let's keep going, dude. Like, I was never into like going all night.
You're not trying to get like drunk at the bar?
Well, once I started feeling drunk, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm ready. Like, I want to go home now.
I gotta at least pregame to that level before I even go out.
That's how a lot of people are, man. But I was always like, I'm gonna get high, and the whole thing about like, you get stoned, you get thirsty. So I'm like super stoned when I get to the bar, start pounding old fashions or fucking, PBRs or whatever the cheapest drink is that night. And that's the thing is, like, after 2 hours, I'm just like, ugh, and all the drinks start hitting me, and I'm just like, okay, I want to go home now. Because I love, like, getting kind of, like, nice and drunk and then, like, smoking.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, too. Like, I've learned my lesson too many times, and I'm going to stick with it, that it's like, I have my 2 drinks, 3 tops, and then I come home and I smoke. I'm like, I don't want to get super fucked up on alcohol because I don't feel good after a little bit.
Sure.
Like, after a couple hours, I start feeling really sick. But if I get nice and toasty and then I smoke, that gets me to where I want to be,
That's where you want to fucking
That's
be,
where I want to
baby.
be. I start kind of swimming a little bit, and then I'm already on my couch, is the thing. It's like, once I start feeling really fucked up, I'm already home. And that's the whole point to me.
Is that, like, the vibe when you come home and smoke? You're still a little warm in the gills. Is there like some good music to listen to when you're in that kind of like zone?
Personally, for me, it's always shit that I listened to in high school that I put on. RX Bandits.
Yeah, you're listening to like Sublime and
punk, any good punk music. RX Bandits is really good when I'm nice and drunk because I just get like really into it. But honestly, like mostly hip hop. Anything to make me feel cool.
All right. Well, I do appreciate a good crossfade every once in a while.
It doesn't work for everyone, man, but it works for me.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
And personally, the kind of like stuff that I'm into is kind of like a what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Earbuds Podcast. This is a podcast where two good buds talk about one good album for a good amount of time. I am your co-host, Ash Burnsides Hanrahan. With me, as always, the other co-host. It's Lucas Crowd Killer Indrakovs.
Fucking double neck chop.
And today we're talking about a little album called Destroyer by an artist called Black Mountain. Have you heard of him?
Man, that transition gave me whiplash. That was
the transition's always got to be smooth as butter, or it's got to like give you spinal damage.
Yeah, I think
that's the only way I do it.
Yeah, I think I can't feel my third vertebrae from the bottom.
Oh, say goodbye to those little pinky toes then.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're falling off.
I got too real. Yeah, this is an album that I brought to the table, and this is one of those that I listened to for my album of the day reviews that I was doing. So I had only heard this once before, and I really liked it when I heard it the first time. And this album suffers from the earbuds. It suffered from the earbuds process for me. Because we like to listen to albums like a handful of times before we finally sit down and talk about them.
I'd say a minimum of 3 to 4 times for me.
Yeah.
Some more, some less if I already know the albums.
Or how long it took for us to finally record. Like, it feels like, to everyone... To whoever's listening or watching, like, it's going to feel like nothing, like no time has passed, but it's probably been like at least 2 weeks since we've recorded, right?
It's been like 2.5 to 3 weeks since we've last recorded any episode.
Yeah, that's true. The last thing we did was a chit chat.
And so I've listened to this album a good handful of times, and then a week passed, and then I forgot everything, and then I had to listen again.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't sell this album super accurately to you when I brought it up.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'd say extremely poorly.
Yeah, because again, I'd only heard it once. It's been 2 years since I've listened to it. So to me, I remembered it as just like pretty good, straightforward stoner rock, and that's not really what it is, I would say.
No, the only thing I could think of throughout this entire album, and I feel like you'll feel the same way, is if Pink Floyd was kind of doing their first shit, and it kept evolving with like 80s metal.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like if Pink Floyd and Judas Priest fucked, and then that kid fucked Marilyn Manson, and then their baby kind of made this record to me.
And like also like a blues guitarist in a dive bar.
Right, yeah, like the blind guy from Blues Brothers or something.
Right.
Yeah. I think, right? No, Roadhouse. The blind guitarist from Roadhouse. He's a guy. But yeah, I think calling it stoner rock is doing it a little bit of disservice, because like me and you kind of prejudge anything that is like considered stoner rock, because it can be so, like boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And it all kind of sounds the same after a while. But this, I would definitely say this is more 80s inspired metal. This is more inspired by 80s metal than anything else. And like, I even got some like a little bit of punk in there, a little bit, and a little bit of hair metal.
Yeah, there were a lot of, they kind of pulled from a lot of different sublets of 80s metal in there.
Yeah.
I kind of got Motley Crue sometimes.
Yes.
I even got some Def Leppard sometimes.
Huh, okay.
Which was a little odd, but they do still always kind of incorporate this basis of a Pink Floyd vibe.
Because they're
songs.
psychedelic, and there's a lot more synth on this record than I remember there being.
Yeah, there's a good amount.
And it's by far my favorite part of the record too. Like, all the synth work is really cool, and it gives it this like super moody like have a cigar, welcome to the machine type vibe.
Yeah. There's one song that we'll get into later that remind me so much of Welcome to the Machine.
Welcome,
like,
my
in particular.
son. Welcome to the machine. Dude, I was listening to The Wall the other day.
Yeah.
And why does no one ever give major props to the fucking synth player in Pink Floyd? Like, that dude is low-key one of the fucking best parts of the band.
Well,
and I never thought about it.
When you're in a band of fucking, like, Roger Waters
and David Gilmour,
and like some of the best guitar playing of all time, some of the best guitar soloing of all time, really good bass lines, fantastic vocals.
Yeah.
Like,
and the songwriting just in general, just being like everything just works so well together that if you don't, if you're not a standout, like a performer kind of like Gilmour and Waters, then you do kind of like get lost in the shuffle. And I feel bad for the dude who played keyboard in Pink Floyd, because listening to The Wall especially, I was like, this dude is like the glue that holds all this shit together.
I'm sure he was fine. I'm sure he got over it.
I don't know. Does the keyboardist get any girls?
I feel like he
groupies?
does. I feel like the Pink Floyd synth like keyboard player is pretty well respected. I feel like he gets his due.
What's his name?
Jeff.
Jesk.
His name is Jeffrey Sinclair.
I believe you. That sounds about right. I don't know, man. I kind of feel bad for the guy.
Well, like, what's the drummer's name? Doesn't fucking matter because he doesn't do anything.
Jeffrey St. Clair.
He's Jeffrey Sinclair the second.
It was his son. The keyboard is his son.
Yeah. Dude, speaking of fucking... Sorry, this is absolutely not related. I'll tell you real quick. Yeah. I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure for the first time.
Great movie.
Really good fucking movie. I had so much fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's so stupid. Like, it's beyond stupid.
Yeah.
It's a great stoner movie.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right up there with, like, Dude, Where's My Car? For, like, stoner movie,
Yeah.
That's not a stoner movie, because, like, no one smokes weed in either of those movies, but they're obviously both made for stoners.
It's like they're both obviously have, like, pothead characters in it. And,
right.
Like, fucking, like, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yeah, but that's
that's
hard stoner comedy right there.
Yeah. That's not as subtle.
No. And there's nothing subtle about this fucking album, dude.
No, there isn't. It's pretty. It can be very soft or it can be very bashing whenever it wants to be.
Yeah.
I really like the drums throughout this record. I really like the production of the drums.
Okay, because is it just me? Or does it sound like the drummer doesn't really know what they're doing half the time?
I don't know about that.
It feels like the traditional rock and roll drumming, where it's like you hit the kick on the 2 and the 4 or whatever. It's like the kick is all over the place on this album. Like, specifically on Horns Arising, the drummer's doing this weird, like, and it's not following a pattern. It's not the same thing every time. It's not like there doesn't seem to be a part written, and it doesn't seem to like go along with what the bassist is doing or what the guitarist is doing. It's just like the drummer just hitting the kick out of nowhere.
It kind of seems like they're just doing their own thing.
Yeah. And that's strange to me.
But I feel like the cymbals are really good in the array of music here. They're very like washy and very encapsulating. The drums are very thick. On License to Drive, there's a nice like little tom part that happens at the beginning that I think is very cool. It's bashing along with like the fuzz guitars that pervade through this whole record.
The overall production is great on this album.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like and they make a couple production choices that you like wouldn't really be keyed to at first, like on like Future Shade, whenever the female vocalist comes in.
Very strange.
Yeah, it's very strange and like very not so synced up parts, a bit of a weird like filter on her voice.
Yeah, and it's not like a great vocal part either.
But like it's kind of cool. It's
kind of
like,
cool. You know, actually, oh man, I meant to open the page about this record, but that female singer, I'm pretty sure, is from a band called Sleepy Sun, which is a really good stoner rock, not stoner rock, I would say more psych rock band, and it was cool to see that she was like featured on this album. I think she's the one singing backup vocals, Rachel Fannin.
okay, because she's on. I assume it's the same singer on like High Rise.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of made a couple appearances. I thought she was just like a part of the band or something.
She might be after this record, but this is the first one with her on it. And I'd heard some of their earlier stuff, and I don't remember having female vocals going along with their stuff. But yeah, you know, this album, like again, it did suffer from the earbuds process for me a little bit, but the songs that I like on this album, I like a lot. And Future Shade's one of them, even though it's like 2 minutes too long. But
Sure.
I didn't realize it until I did a little bit of research on this that it's like kind of a concept record.
Yeah, you know, I assumed when we got to I think it was High Rise or I think it was Boogie Lover, when they referenced close to the edge again in the vocals. Like, all right, there's probably some pervading narrative. I looked at the lyrics. To me, it's kind of like too steeped in this mysticism and like these
symbolism and
psychedelic like themes that I can't really follow along with whatever's going on in the song.
But that line, the loneliest cock in the sky for a high rise, is a pretty fucking great line. The weirdest way to describe a fucking high rise building I've ever heard. The loneliest cock in the sky. But it was actually License to Drive that they brought back the Closer to the Edge.
That's what it was.
We're getting close to the edge. And like you're an Iron Maiden head, right?
If I had to choose a band from that era, Iron Maiden would be my go-to.
Was it just me that heard a lot of Iron Maiden in the riffage and in the more like energetic songs?
No, I kind of felt that whenever they were on the more metal side of things.
Yeah.
I kind of got little Iron Maiden feels, little... It's hard to describe because I'm not so well versed in that area.
Yeah, me neither.
But like, it's not like thrash metal or anything like that. It was a very like early on blues incorporated metal.
Yeah.
That I was hearing throughout the album.
Like late 70s metal, maybe.
Yeah, kind of like between those two little eras.
Yeah, that transition period, like when Judas Priest started getting big and Iron Maiden and before the hair metal days, like that middle period there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I overall like on the songs that I liked the riffage a lot, and the vocalist reminded me several times of Marilyn Manson in a weird way. That's why I brought him up earlier.
I really haven't listened to Marilyn Manson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's kind of like very throaty, and like kind of like a little vibrato, and it's really unique. And the singer kind of has this like future shade. Like I thought they were from like England or Liverpool or whatever, but they're fucking Canadian.
You know, I kind of got Bright Light, Social Hour kind of vibes.
Another Canadian band.
A little bit. You know, especially like that Space is Still the Place album. With that like kind of slower like like you know, whatever all that is.
Yeah, I heard I thought you said Bright Light Social Club. And I was like, that's another Canadian band, but you said Bright Light Social Hour.
Is it Bright Light Social Club? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
It's well, in any case.
Anyway,
I also think there were some some songs that were much longer than they ever really needed to be.
Agreed.
The last song is kind of a weird ending. Not exactly sure why they chose it.
No, I really didn't dig that one very much. It's like, is it the first metal prom slow dance song ever written?
Well, it like starts with that bass line, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a cool start, but then it doesn't really progress far past anything that happens in the first minute.
I like the closing riff on it. That they end it like the last minute. Like
Yeah, that's the thing that happens throughout this album.
Yes.
Usually, I like the songs. The best parts of the songs are like 3/4 of the way through it.
Yeah. And this one's that last track that like yeah, very like Halloween vibes.
Yeah.
Super moody. But yeah, what I hated the most about that song was the vocalist. Like, sounds like he's trying so hard to sound like David Bowie, and I can't sign off on it.
Maybe it's part of the narrative of this concept record.
So the concept record is like supposed to give you the feeling of what it's like to be behind the wheel of a hot rod, of like a muscle car. So
really,
yeah, it's like that's the whole thing. And
I don't know about
so
that.
Destroyer is a reference to the Dodge Destroyer, which was a muscle car I think in the 70s that only had one run, like no one fucking bought it.
Damn.
So that was that part, and then like you kind of, the more I listened to it, and when I read that it was a concept record, and like there's literally something called License to Drive, which is a reference to the fact that the singer just got his license in like 2017. So
I'm sure FD72 is some car reference.
it sounds like the type of like motor oil you would use or something. And it definitely sounds like a car reference. But the more I listened to it, I was like, this kind of does feel like a metal album to drive to. You know what I mean? Like desert driving.
Yeah, well, it's
metal.
Aside from the album kind of gets more and more chill throughout. Like the first two songs are kind of the heaviest and most fast paced it really gets.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's not really a driving kind of music so much as it is like it's got a
moody.
little bit of a stoned out 70s metal vibe.
I mean, like Pretty Little Lazies is probably my least favorite song next to Boogie Lover. Like I really didn't like either of those songs. But Pretty Little Lazies like sounds like a weird bizarro mix of like Beck and David Bowie or something. It is not good. And then when they pick up the pace, maybe like 3 minutes in, it gets a little more interesting. It's not like exciting or anything, but it's at least more interesting than that weird ass acoustic stuff that they were doing in the first 3 minutes of the song. It's very strange.
Wow.
But the album starts very strong. That like like very classic 80s chuggy,
Super
riffy metal. And then Horns Arising, I would say, is probably the most stoner metal, like straightforward stoner metal of the tracks.
Yeah.
Great riff though. Like I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, Mortalis was still going strong before fucking the pandemic started. So in 2020 I heard that, I was like, ugh, like it made me want to like, I got so like nostalgic and made me want to like jam with you guys. But listening to it now, I'm just kind of like,
I like, it's very evil sounding.
yes.
I feel like it would really kill live, in a live setting.
Yeah, great riff. Great riff.
But
yeah, I mean that super fuzzy bass I think live could be cool, but man, I do love the fucking synth, the do 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 do, like fucking like what's that fucking band we talked about, Black Moth Super Rainbow kind of like style synthesizer.
I would need to go back to that.
Oh yeah, the album.
Recall anything like
that. Yeah, the album Dandelion Gum. That you remember that one that we reviewed?
No, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're like. I don't remember a synth like that in this album.
Yeah, Horns Are Rising. It's like the third measure of the main riff. They do this like really cool, kind of high pitched, airy but distorted synth part on there, and it reminded me a lot of Black Moth Super Rainbow.
Well, I mean, if we're talking while we're talking about shit, do you want to get into like Narnugs? Do you have other things to say about this record in general?
Not really. I got nothing else. What I did think though, and I don't know if you would humor me, is I think it makes more sense to do ratings first and then talk about our 2 favorite songs.
Oh, okay.
Because it almost feels like we talk about everything we liked and didn't like, and then we talk about our 2 favorite songs, and then we rate it. And I feel like, and then we almost like repeat stuff that we said already, like in the rating. So I'm just like, let's talk about the album and then rate it, and then we'll be like, and these are our 2 favorite songs. You want to try it?
Yeah. I mean, I always saw it as a bit of a recap for people who like skipped to the end or weren't really listening.
I would love if someone actually does that. To find out if someone like fucking, I'm just gonna skip through 45 minutes in just to get to the rating. Like, please comment if you fucking do that, because that'd be hilarious. But I say let's rate it real quick, and then we'll talk about our 2 favorite songs.
Let's try it out.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
All right. It's a the whole time just thinking an old metal blues, kind of psychedelic, some spacey parts, some psychedelic parts. Nice little synth in there. I like the production. It's got a warm fuzziness to it through most of the album. I'm gonna rate it, like, there were a lot of moments that lost me though.
Yeah, me too.
And a lot of it had to do with song length, maybe repetition of parts. There not really being an outstanding part in this song, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think right now I'm gonna give this album like a 6.4.
Wow. Okay, that's not bad.
It's not too. There's nothing offensive about it, really.
Yeah, it's just boring at times.
It could be a little boring. It's a very safe record. I think you could turn it on for anyone, and they wouldn't be like scared of it or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna actually be quite a bit lower than you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Everything that I like about this album is that like I'm super into psychedelic rock, and especially like new stuff. And everything I like about this record is the different things that they did than a lot of other psychedelic rock bands are doing right now. Like they're obviously like so late 70s, early 80s influenced on this. I love the moodiness of it, like how slow it is and kind of like plodding and just moody is just the only word I could think of to like best describe it. And obviously like synthesizer is huge in psych rock, but I think the way that they used it on this record was really unique and really front and center, like super loud in the mix. Like I said, like I liked the production. I thought it was all like very open and airy and spacey, but almost felt like claustrophobic at times also. And I think they pulled that off really well. Like any mood that they were trying to get you into, it was successful on every song. But man, the drums kind of drove me nuts. I didn't like what they were doing 95% of the time.
Wow, I didn't think it'd be such a big problem.
I really didn't enjoy it. The drums kind of took me out of it a lot, because when I started paying attention, I was just like, this person doesn't know what they're fucking doing. And there's so much 80s-ness on this record, almost like Ministry at times with the synthesizer, but also like Children of Bodom I got vibes at times too. And there's so much 80s-ness that my instinct is to fucking hate it, because I hate that era.
Sure.
I hate that era of metal. I hate that era of rock and roll. But I like this version of it more than like any hair metal song like ever fucking written. It's a lot more stony and moody rather than cheesy. But like, it suffered from the earbuds curse, and it started kind of like
listening to it more than once.
Of having to listen to it more than once. And honestly, like Pretty Little Lazy's Boogie Lover and FD72, I fucking can't. I don't want to ever listen to those songs again. So I only liked half the songs on this, but I did like them a lot. So I'm gonna give it a 4.8.
Wow. Okay, that is not what I was expecting.
Me neither, man. I was like really surprised, to be honest.
Well, let's get into Narnugs. I think we share one, and I don't think we share the other. I think the one we share is Horns Are Rising.
Yes.
All right, let's get into that, because I love the riff on that.
Yeah.
I think it has one of the better kind of moody sections in the middle, where it's these big fat tones happening. It's like an acoustic guitar comes in, very like breathy vocals. And then just this thick bass coming in.
Yeah, super snotty bass and a great solo.
It's like synth noise happening.
Yeah.
I thought it was very cool. I think they have a cool synth voice on it.
Best riff on the record. I like the vocoder on the vocals, like you said. And the song, like, it's 6 minutes long or 7 minutes long almost, but it has a lot of movements, so it kind of keeps you in it. You know, like you mentioned that part in the middle that kind of quiets down and then like opens right back up into the solo, but then you have that part at the end that's almost like the closest thing I could describe it to is like Marilyn Manson mixed with like Uncle Acid.
I can see a little Uncle Acid shit there.
Like the
it definitely is like the stoner rock song of the album.
Yes, for sure. And very like theatrical there at the end. Like it's like the fucking Phantom of the Opera or something.
Right.
At the end. Yeah. And it's cool. Yeah. The song definitely stands out. I will say Future Shade was a very close choice nug for me, but Horns Are Rising is just one notch above it.
What were your little honorable mentions, if you had any?
I only have a couple. Future Shade was one of them. It's like a gothic Judas Priest song. It's fucking great.
It's one of mine as well. I think it's a great way to kick off the album.
Super fun. Great energy. And Closer to the Edge, man. I fucking love that song.
Well, let's get into it then, because that is my second nug.
I'm surprised, dude. I was like thinking, like, am I really gonna make the basically instrumental song one of my choice nugs? But it's so good.
It's so good. I think it's because, and this is insulting. This is insulting what I'm about to say. But I really like it because it sounds so much like Pink Floyd.
Yeah. For sure.
And I've been on a pretty nice Pink Floyd kick recently.
Random. Maybe it's this album that made me want to listen to The Wall.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
I mean, this song especially has these like Pink Floyd sounding synths on it. This like arpeggiated that's going through the whole thing, and these very like thick synths that go through.
It almost feels like I'm walking on like a desert on Mars or something.
Yeah, it reminded me of Welcome to the Machine.
Hardcore.
I'd say the most. And then like 2 minutes into the song or something, like at the end there, like the guitar comes in, and it's doing a very Pink Floyd like.
Yeah.
Like it's so. I even if it is just like a Pink Floyd song,
I mean,
I love it. I love it. What can I say?
This song sounds like it's plucked right out of like an 80s sci-fi movie. Like it's so perfect for that vibe. And yeah, dude, I'm with you, dude. Like this is probably the most cinematic song on the record, and definitely the spaciest, like the vibiest on the album for sure. Well, it was close. It was a very close choice nug of mine, and the one that I ended up picking, a lot of the reason that I picked this one as a choice nug is because they bring that back later in the album, and it's License to Drive.
That was going to be my next guess.
Yeah. Did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, Future Shade was one.
Yeah.
I liked Pretty Little Lazies
Ugh, I hated it.
for whatever reason.
Ugh.
It just like it was cool to me. License to Drive was my last little honorable one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, High Rise isn't bad. It's just sort of a flyover. It's a little too repetitive. But License to Drive, man, it's like when it first started, I was like, ugh, like this is another one I'm not gonna like. But it's like you said, that fucking like to kind of like pick up that energy like a minute in. And then it gets into this like super fucking Iron Maiden Judas Priest riff, and the riff is so fucking good.
The first band I thought of was Motley Crue.
Oh yeah, I mean totally. It could be very Harold like
yeah, very driving riff.
It does kind of sound like Tommy Lee drumming, for sure.
Yeah, right.
Very straightforward. And I just love that they brought back the closer to the edge like synth stuff there, and like his vocal.
The female vocalist is here again. Welcome back.
Which I like. I actually like her singing on this song. And it's interesting, man. Like I love her in Sleepy Sun, and I did not like her on this album at all.
I loved her through the whole thing. I thought she was a great compliment.
It is very hit or miss for me. But I would say this one, License to Drive, was the one that he sounded most like Marilyn Manson to me, with how like kind of lazy his vocals are and super throaty. Like it sounds like all the power in his vocals is coming from the throat.
Yeah, sure.
And it's got to come from the scrote, dude.
You're the throat goat.
If you're singing from your throat, you're neglecting the scrote. And that's not healthy.
And a couple times in this song, it's like the cheesiest, most like like synth comes in.
And those backup vocals that are like kind of chanty.
Yeah.
Super fucking cheesy too. It's like it feels like everyone's wearing those like fingerless leather gloves and like they're all like in the fisheye lens camera together, like fucking singing those parts, and I'm just like the cheesiness it works for me on that song.
All right. Do you have anything else to say? We're not doing our ratings because we just did those.
Yeah, we already did it. It's not that we're not doing it.
Yeah.
It's how we already did it.
So now is when we say thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. We're on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. We're on Instagram at EBPcast, baby.
Yep.
That's where you're going to get the updates. That's where you're going to get the leaks.
So many leaks.
We have a lot. We have 100% of the Earbuds podcast leaks.
Yeah.
To our name.
Yeah, we leak everything ourselves.
Our manager is furious at us.
Yeah.
Well, many have quit.
Got to create some buzz. Yeah, we're like through our 7th or 8th manager now at this point.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, Matt's sticking around. 2 weeks. That's some of the longest tenure we've had.
You know what I
year.
think it is?
What?
I think it's because he's got 3 T's in his name.
It doesn't hurt.
I think it gives him that little more like power, that little more patience.
It's like you, like hand or hand with like 7 N's or something.
There are 7 N's in that name, which is crazy because there's only like 7 letters.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What's crazier though is if you actually fucking subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you follow us on Instagram. That's pretty crazy. And comment, let us know what you guys think of this record. Are you big fucking Black Mountains fans? I want to know. Do you want to know, Ash?
I don't really care.
Yeah, I guess I don't either.
You could like him, you could hate him. It's your life. Enjoy what you enjoy.
Why even do this? I'm having a crisis now.
What's the fucking point?
I'm crising.
Lucas is sick.
I am sick.
I'm sick of, and I'm sick of him being sick.
Yeah.
It is a terse energy right now.
I wonder if people have felt it throughout the episode.
I hope y'all have been wearing your masks, because it will spread.
Yeah, I'm spitting. I'm misting everywhere. And I don't know if you've heard me, but I've said a lot of fuck yous under my breath throughout this whole episode.
And was that like directed to me or like
Fuck you.
the viewer or like?
Huh?
Huh?
Fuck you. Mostly you.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
But to myself too.
Okay.
You know, I'm not happy with me.
Sure.
Like I told
I
you,
mean,
my
you could
brain's
always
been in a bowl of diarrhea for a week and a half now.
Well, when Lucas's bowl of diarrhea hardens a little bit, we're gonna get back to the fresh drops. We're gonna get back to the chit chats.
Yes.
We still got another one for fuck. This is coming out so much later. Who knows what's happening
dude, no,
right
this
now?
isn't. Yeah, we're recording this in early December. This is probably not going to come out till late January. What was that? What was that? What the hell was that?
My little produce tube.
Are you nicking? Oh, okay. You better not be nicking.
No, I just collect these. I like to kind of fidget with them.
And you
I
pretend
just
that you
collect them
smoke?
at work whenever a produce bag has run out of bags.
Oh wow, you have a lot of them.
I'm trying to collect them all.
And then what? Whoa! A Russian nesting doll of
Then I can
produce
summon
tubes.
Exodia.
Yeah, you got to make like an art thing with that.
No. Just like to
All right.
fidget around with them. Just having a little fun. You know?
I get
With
it.
my little tubes.
You should go to Shark Tank with that.
Maybe I should.
Be like fidget tubes.
See us on Shark Tank. We'll see y'all next week. Lucas, this was good.
Hey, this was good.
We should do a Shark Tank episode. I think that'd be good.
That'd be fun. I
don't know what
have
that'd be,
ideas.
but- Yeah?
Yeah.
I have some.
I just thought of a really good idea. What about these like tubes that you just fidget with? That you
Yeah.
can like put one inside of the other one.
It's like a kind
I
of
feel
like a
like we
this
could-
thing. Or,
No, nothing like that.
oh, all right. Sorry.
But I feel like, I could probably source them pretty cheap from like grocery stores and stuff, like the produce bags.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good fuck. Why didn't I think of that?
I call it dibs. Even though you're going with me on the show, but like any money we make is mine.
Well, as an official Trader Joe's employee, I can confiscate that shit from you whenever I need to.
I never said I was going to get that shit from Trader Joe's. I hate Trader Joe's.
I don't care.
I never stepped
With
foot
my
inside of
Trader
one.
Joe's power, I will just confiscate whatever the fuck I want from
Trader
you.
Joe's is a glorified fucking snack shop.
It's not even that. Most of the snacks here aren't even like.
Dude,
Great.
people, there's a weird like Trader Joe's cult.
There's a community. There's a fucking
Yeah.
podcast. There's like a newsletter. There's, it's a whole lot of shit. Goodbye. We're not getting into it. I'm not getting into it. Goodbye.
All right. Fucking see ya.
See ya.